this evening. And so I'm very excited to have been given this opportunity to give you the history. It's an exciting history, like I said, a germ of an idea that continues to flourish and grow, and the roots spread deep and wide. And as we all put together our voices, the reign of favor and the reign of the one who smiles on Africa will continue to cause us to flourish. I mean, the only way is up for Africa Voiceover Day and African voice talent. And so with that, I'd like to pass the baton back to Tolu. Although I'd just like to ask if anyone else has something to share from those beginning conversations, because those guys I mentioned are in the house.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for such a beautiful expose into what the African Voiceover Day stands for, how it all started and where we're going, and also telling us where we are right now. I'm stepping in for Tolu at the moment. I will carry on the event until Tolu comes in. So we'll just take it a bit higher as we progress in today's event. It's a fully packed day, and whenever we come together to celebrate Africa, just know that there's going to be a lot to celebrate, because we are some amazing people, wonderfully crafted by our maker and given amazing voices that should speak. And the beautiful thing is that our voices are speaking right now. Thank you, Jennifer, for that beat. We'll be moving on. Before we step into the keynote session, I want to say a big welcome to everyone who have joined us. It was the last time I looked at the people in the room, it was 44, and suddenly it's 87. It's amazing. Right. Thank you, everyone, and welcome to the African Voiceover Day 2025. And today we're celebrating the spirit of Africa. We're celebrating our heritage as Africans, and we're also building the future. So we'll be talking about interesting topics that helps us build the future of voice acting in Africa. But the next beat for us is to listen to our keynote speaker, and who better, who else do we have but one of the pride of the African voiceover industry, who has taken his game global. And allow me to introduce the keynote speaker for today. He is widely recognized as the brand master. He's a leading voiceover talent, brand consultant, industry disruptor, global opportunity empowerer, speaker, amplifying Africa's influence in the voiceover landscape. With over 2 decades of expertise, he has shaped the voiceover industry as a sought-after talent, coach, consultant, and for personal and multimedia brands. For personal and multinational brands, while also launching and scaling successful startups. As the founder of the Voiceover Academy, Africa's premier training hub for voice talent, and the Voiceover Bank, a leading professional voiceover pool, Shobo has groomed generations of world-class African voices while also representing multinational brands with his voice talent. His influence and impact earned him the Voice Arts Global Influencer Award, SOVERS, and a historic seat as the first African board member of the Voice and Speech Trainers Association, VASTA, USA. Seun Shobo is with us in the house today, and I've had the privilege to listen to him speak, to work with him at the View Africa conference, and I can tell you that he's an amazing person, but beyond being an amazing human, he's also a pace setter. Help me welcome Seun Shobo for the keynote speech.
Thank you. It's amazing to be here. It's a wonderful time to be alive once again for another edition of the Africa Voiceover Day. Thank you so much, Emeka, for the introduction. I appreciate it. Sometimes I just try to run away from those things Just you don't say once you say sure, I'm good to go. Right. The keynote address I will be taking, I've titled it The Past, the Present, and the Future. But actually the topic given to me was the evolution of voiceover in Africa. I don't know if there's a way I could share my slides so that everybody can see. But I'm going to be reading from the slides. Uh, is it possible for me to share, or should I just go on? Okay. All right. All right. So please just stay with me. Stay with me. All right. Now, I don't know if anybody listened or heard that, there was some silence in the room. It was a deafening silence just for a few seconds, right? The silence was very, and it was intentional. Um, why was it intentional? That silence was how silent African voices, right, were on the global stage, right? We were very silent on the global stage. We weren't heard, right? But today, we stand at the threshold of a new era. Today, our voices, your voices, resonate across continents, um, streaming services, commercials, animations, and audiobooks. That journey from silence to sonic dominance is what brings us together this evening. Let's take a moment to examine our journey. Now, if you followed the history of voices or voice artistry or voiceover artistry, in the beginning, the ancient times, there were town criers, griots, our continent's first ever voice talents. For centuries, these oral communicators, historians, praise singers, and storytellers carried our narratives through sound alone. They were the original voiceover artists, though they never needed microphones. This is an example of one. That's a Congolese native town crier. I also remember some of the stories we've read in some novels in the past, especially in Nigeria. We had a lot of those town criers who would always announce what the king was saying, right? When I started in this industry over 2 decades ago, the landscape had been tilled and seeds had been sown by our predecessors, but our land was still barren, right? Let me take you back to about 2001, which I can remember very clearly. There were various types of recording studios. There were the upscale ones, which had the big mixers and, padded areas. But there were also the mushroom ones with little spaces where we also did some recordings that had egg cartons, right? That were used for soundproofing, right? Some people will not believe that. Some people just say, "What? For real?" Yes, those things were used as well. Professional microphones were super expensive. A couple were purchased second hand from radio stations or the Western world. There were no voice acting schools in Africa. There were no agents. There were no conferences. There was no Africa Voiceover Day. No specific rate cards. Associations. There were some existing associations, but no strong communities. When clients needed African voices, they would often hire non-Africans to imitate our accents, creating caricatures rather than authentic representation. Our stories were told through foreign perspectives. Our languages got messed up for international consumption. Now, where are we going? We are reclaiming our narrative. I remember a story of a colleague recording an ad for a major brand that had strong affiliations, so strong foreign affiliations. When he delivered it and with his natural Nigerian inflections and accent, the producer asked him, sound more African. And he's like, more African than an actual African, he asked. You know, he replied, like in the movies, like in the movies. Apart from this, I've also heard such statements series of times. Such situations have made me deeply understand that our challenge isn't about just building an industry. It was about reclaiming our narrative power. Now, what is the present looking like? We've talked about the past, reclaiming our narrative, and the past. And the present. Now we are at the present. Now, today, the African voiceover industry stands transformed. If you don't believe me, consider these milestones. Number one, there's a growth. We have growth in talent. Our talent base, there's growth in our talent base. From a handful of professional voice actors across the continent, we now have thousands, I mean, literal thousands of trained professionals, right? World-class facilities. From makeshift studios, we built world-class recording facilities and home studios all across Lagos, Abuja, Nairobi, Kenya, Johannesburg, Cairo, and beyond. Voice makers, from being voice takers, we become voice makers with our unique African storytelling techniques, influencing global continent. Influencing global content, right? Our momentum is undeniable. The streaming revolution opened doors that were previously closed to us. Global audiences became hungry for authentic representation. The pandemic, despite its devastation, accelerated remote work capabilities, connecting African voices to international opportunities without geographic limitations. More on our present. Now, these are some numbers that I came across. Now, there's a 300% growth rate. African talent bookings have grown by 300% in the last 5 years. That's a lot. That's a lot, right? And we have come, it shows you that we've come a long way, right? Nigerians now feature in animations watched by children across 5 continents. South Africans' voices are narrating documentaries for major international networks. Kenyan voices are becoming the hallmark voices for developmental or development projects. While Egyptian and Moroccan voices are taking over aviation announcements, international departures or arrivals, looking at the likes of Emirates, Turkish Airlines, and the rest of that, you find that a lot of these voices are Egyptian voices, Moroccan voices. Now, our languages are distinct, right? We have over 2,000 languages in Africa. Isn't that amazing? Amazing, amazing fact, right? But perhaps the most profound change isn't in technology or economics. It is perception. We no longer mimic Western delivery styles to be accepted. Instead, our unique cadences, our multilingual capabilities, our cultural nuances have become our greatest assets. The world isn't asking us to sound less African anymore. They're asking us to sound more authentically ourselves. Now, the future. What does Africa's voice look like in global storytelling? Where do we go from here? The horizon before us presents endless possibilities. AI and technology, artificial intelligence, for example, represents both a challenge and an opportunity. Voice cloning technology threatens to dilute the market for human performances, yet our linguistic diversity with over 2,000 distinct languages makes African voices invaluable for training these systems ethically and accurately. The metaverse and extended reality domains will require voices for billions of digital characters and experiences. Who better to provide that diversity than the continent with the world's richest vocal heritage? Audiobook markets. Audiobook narration, currently dominated by American and British voices, represents a vast untapped market. And as African literature continues to gain global recognition, African voices must be the one telling African stories. It has already started, but it must now be the standard. Not trying to think about it, but it must now be the standard. Now, beyond the commercial opportunity, the vision I envision personally, is one of cultural perception. African voiceover talent and actors shaping how the world perceives our countries and cultures, right? Because one of these things that you find out is when you come to the Western world, not it's not the fact that they don't have systems. They have systems that work. But you will find out that a lot of things, especially from the creative industry, voiceover talent, voice actors, screen actors, They are the ones that shape the perceptions of their country and the cultures, which makes it now mainstream cultures, right? So what we need to do is to actually, from our own side of the divide, right, start to do that, start shaping perception through with our voices, using our culture, and definitely talking about our countries, positive perceptions about who we are as Africans, right? Language preservation, our indigenous languages preserved and celebrated through voice performance. Educational impact, educational content in local dialects, reaching children in remote areas, especially with the staggering number of uneducated children in our countries. For example, I know Nigeria, as at the last time we checked, UNESCO says that we have about 20 million children out of school, right? One of the things that we will need to do with education is try to use our voices to also spread education to those remote parts, right? In their languages, right? In Hausa, in Swahili, right? In Zulu, those questions, sorry, most of those languages, let's make sure that we get it to those remote areas, to places where they don't speak those languages. Career viability as well as policy influence. African voice acting becoming a viable career path for young people across the continent with accurate data to prove the humongous value it adds to the GDPs of our various countries and and Africa's creative economy. Policy influence, an industry that becomes a pressure group for sound policies for the creative economy, getting various African governments to strengthen our rights and privileges, especially as regards structures and copyrights. The most exciting frontier isn't having our voices heard globally, it is having our perspectives, values, and worldviews transmitted through those voices. What do we see? What is our call to action? We want to build structures, standardized rates that reflect our true value, formal training programs that combine African oral techniques with modern voice acting requirements, legal frameworks that protect our intellectual properties. Embrace unity. The days of seeing each other as competitors must end. Our individual successes depend on our collective advancement. Share knowledge, mentor serious newcomers, uplift each other's wings, preserve authenticity. We must preserve our authenticity. Let us not lose what makes us uniquely African. Our power lies not in mimicking Western delivery, but in bringing our distinctive nuances to the global soundscape. I see a day when African voice actors are no longer novelties, but necessities. When our accents aren't exotic flavors, but essential ingredients in the global media mix. When the question isn't, should we hire an African voice, but which African voice best sells this story? That day is within our reach. Let me end this address with the story of an African voiceover talent that I know on how his voiceover journey began. His grandmother never learned to read or write, but she always told stories that painted worlds in his mind. I remember my grandma also doing that. He continued by saying her voice was musical, textured, and it carried centuries of oral tradition. This was his first example of voice artistry. On her deathbed, though thoroughly, though thoroughly sad, she was about, sorry, on her deathbed, though thoroughly sad, she was about to give up the ghost. She whispered to him, "When I'm gone, my voice will live in you, and through you, others will hear me." All I was just saying was, when I'm gone, my voice will live in you, and through you, others will hear me. That is the power we all hold. When we speak, we channel out the voices of our ancestors, and when others hear us, they hear the collective melody and symphony of the African voice experience. For too long, the world told stories about Africa without African voices. Today, we don't just speak for ourselves, we speak for our generations past and generations to come. The African voice, your voice, isn't just evolving, it's rising, it's resonating, and most importantly, it's finally being heard and will eventually take over. Thank you and welcome to Africa Voice Over Day 2025. Remember, your voice is rising, it's resonating, and most importantly, it's finally being heard. And guess what? You are going to take over. All right. Thank you very much.
Wow, that was beautiful. Thank you so much, Mr. Showbo. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for the brand master for that powerful speech. At some point, I felt like I was listening to, I don't want to say politician, but someone who has that consciousness to evoke change in the hearts and minds of people. And that was how I felt listening to Mr. Showbo, the brand master. Thank you so much. Sean Showbo is the founder of the Voiceover Academy, and also he is popularly known as the brand master. He has inspired a lot of voiceover artists across the continent, especially from Nigeria, and is still doing so much more. And we're happy to have him as the keynote speaker for today. He's still going to be showing up in another panel session, but for now, we've just enjoyed an amazing, amazing, amazing speech from him. Wow, thank you. Okay, so we are still right here in the Africa Voiceover Day Festival, celebrating, okay, I called it festival anyways, but this is our own way of celebrating voices in the continent. And in case you're just joining, you are in the right place because you're with some of the most amazing voices. If you're a voiceover artist, you know yeah, it's one of those things because you speak in public and people are like, who's that person? So we have something to be proud about. And it's something that makes us money as well on the side. So I mean, it's a beautiful job if you ask me. But it's much more than the voice. It has to do with the business, and it has to do with a lot a lot that has to do with the business of voiceover in any case. So this is one of the reasons we're celebrating today, because it's not just for us to talk about, oh, we've got great voices, but how can we make it beautiful? How can we make it work for us? How can we make it impactful? How can we tell stories that will last for many generations to come? And like I said earlier, we have some of the best, some of the top voiceover artists in the continent to speak to us. I want to say a big thank you to everyone that has joined so far, and I promise that you're going to have an amazing time right here at Africa Voiceover Day. So if you're just joining, yes, you're in the right place, and I see that we have already 100 participants on our Zoom. So we cannot take more than that on the Zoom, but some people are watching right now on YouTube. So if you're on YouTube watching us or streaming, I'd like you to drop something in the comments. Let's feel the energy and pulse over there as well. And do us a favor, if you belong to any voiceover community, please share the YouTube link with them so that people can know that they can reach or stream or join this, event elsewhere via YouTube, because a lot of voiceover artists in their thousands are across the continent and they're wanting to be a part of this, right? Yes, much more is still happening today. And just to give you a snippet of what you still be expecting as we continue for Africa Voiceover Day, we're looking at the first panel session, which will be happening next. It's called Amplifying Local Voices for Global Reach. And I believe everyone should be a part of this. Everyone should listen to some of the industry professionals talk about how we can amplify our local voices for global reach. And we're still going to have another session called Building the Future. What's next for voiceovers in Africa? I want to know what next for voiceovers in Africa, and I'm sure you want to know as well. So let's stick around for that one. It's going to be having some fascinating speakers like Wakium Zenge from Kenya, King E from Nigeria, Sheon Shubo from Nigeria, Nadim Khalid from Egypt, and Craig Ross from South Africa. I can't wait for that one. There's still going to be another panel session, and that one is titled The Exchange: Building voiceover communities across Africa. And I think it's high time for us to talk about things like this, because communities are part of the founding blocks for an industry. And how do we come about building these communities? We have some of the community leaders in Africa. They'll be here to talk to us about how we can do this. The session is going to be hosted by Prince Dan Vessel from Ghana, and we have Remu Lutmai from Nigeria, Jennifer Canary from Kenya, and I will also be in that session. And we've not forgotten the Africa Voiceover Day challenge that we put out some about a week plus ago. Yeah, people responded. It's about 2 weeks, I think. And we have a compilation of those videos to celebrate African voices. We're going to be playing them in a moment. But for now, we're going to go straight into the first panel session. And this is something that I've been looking forward to because it has a way of just bringing the entire continent together. We're looking at speakers from Nigeria, South Africa, Ghana, Zambia, and the host is from Egypt. So, what better way to come together as a continent to discuss African voices? By the way, I would like you to do something for me really, really quickly. I want the chat or the comment section to be filled with flags of your country. So, very quickly represent your country. I want to see these countries. You can put the name as well, and we'll do a very quick shout out to where you come from. I am sure that I'll see a lot of Nigerians there. So, pardon me if I don't mention that. But yeah, I just want to see a lot of African flags. All of, I said it. Nigerians are already there. I see Nairobi, Kenya. You can also add where you are joining us from. Yeah, really important because you can be in Nigeria and be from Kenya. You could be in South Africa and be from Uganda. So tell us where you are joining from. I see Dr. Shahenda from Egypt. Interesting. Mombasa, Kenya. That's Andrew Boniface. Wow, lovely. We see Nairobi here as well. Nairobi, Kenya. That's Prince Otieno. Wow, that's amazing. A lot of people from Nigeria. I see Senegal. Interesting. Peace Joe from Senegal. Leslie is repping Uganda, Ghana, and South Africa. Amazing. Vivian is repping Kenya. Oh my God, I see Ghana here as well from Prince. I see a lot of flags. Keep them coming, keep them coming. I want to see as many flags as possible as we celebrate Africa Voiceover Day. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. When I'm back, I'm going to continue to give shout outs to your countries. But for now, let's go back to the speech, the impactful sessions. And for the first panel session at Africa Voiceover Day today, we've got a beautiful voiceover artist who has over 19 years of experience doing voiceovers. I mean, that's a big deal if you ask me. So I'm going to be reading her profile in a bit. Her name is Dr. Shahenda Ahmed Ali. She's a professional voiceover artist with 19 years of experience, known for a versatile and engaging voice. She is the official assistant voice for Techno, Infinix, and Itel phones, and proudly serves as the voice of Amazon Alexa in the UAE. In 2024, Shahenda was honored as the best voice artist in Africa by the prestigious APVA Awards. Her work reflects a deep passion for storytelling and connecting with audiences through voice, making her a trusted and recognizable presence across major brands. Wow, that's some impressive profile if you ask me, and I'm glad to introduce her to you as the host of this panel session, Amplifying Local Voices for Global Reach, which will feature Emeka Onunkwo from Nigeria, Leslie Kasumba from Uganda, Kwesi Busia from Ghana, and Kamiza Chukula from Zambia. All right, so Dr. Shahenda Ahmed Ali, I'll be passing the mic to you now with a round of applause that you can represent with emojis in the chat section. Please let's welcome Dr. Shahenda. Hi, Shahenda.
Hello, Tico. Thank you so much for your introduction. Thank you for announcing me as a winner. I'll never forget that. That was your voice then, remember? I keep
Yeah, I do.
rewatching the video several times. Yeah, refreshing
Nice to
the
have you.
moment again and again.
Very much. Thank you.
Thank you so
All
much
right.
for having me here. I'm honored. I'm really honored to welcome you all here in Africa's Voiceover Day 2025. I'll be your moderator in this exciting session titled Amplifying Local Voices for Global Reach. I am Shahenda. I'm from Egypt, and I'm a voice artist. This year's theme is the spirit of Africa, as we know, celebrating the heritage, building the future. And it's a powerful reminder of the journey we have taken and the legacy we continue to create through the vibrant, diverse, and powerful voices across our continent. We are making a change, guys. Today, we are shining a spotlight on the voices that begin in our local communities and carry African stories, energy, and culture into the global conversation. Our speakers embody that mission. They are creators, trailblazers, and storytellers who have not only mastered their craft, but also they are opening doors for others too. So now let me welcome our incredible speakers for this session. First is Emeka Ononko from Nigeria. She is a pioneering casting director and voice actor and the founder of Nigerian Voice Bank and VO Africa. Emeka has been instrumental in connecting African talent with global brands like HP, Milo, and Coca-Cola. Hello, Emeka.
Hello, thank you, and thank you for the
Hi.
opportunity.
Thank you. Our second speaker is Leslie Kasumba from Uganda. She is a powerful house in African media and storytelling, and she's hosting Global Icons from launching She Speaks Africa podcast, The Africa Whisperer. Leslie brings a fierce passion for elevating authentic African narratives. Hello, Leslie. Welcome.
Hi, Dr. Shanita. Very nice to be here. Hi, everyone.
Very nice to meet you.
Nice to
Our
meet you
third
too.
speaker here, it's Kwesi Bozia from Ghana, a British Ghanaian voice actor with an incredible vocal range and international presence, with a law degree, wow, and a background in audiobook narration, and also has since voiced campaigns for major names like Marvel Studios and Amazon Publishing. Hello, Kwesi.
Hello. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our fourth speaker in this panel, Kamiza Shikolo from Zambia, a seasoned communication expert and CEO of Fira Communications. And Kamiza brings over 2 decades of experience in marketing and PR, along with a strong voice that has powered campaigns across the region. Hello, Kamiza. Hello, Kamiza.
Okay, I'm not sure we have Kamiza tonight, so all right,
Okay.
let's go to the next person.
Okay, so my first question here, guys, let's start and bring up some important questions that will affect our cultures in Africa. So I have a question for Kwesi. Hello, Kwesi.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, so can you tell me what makes the African voice unique on the global platforms?
Sure. That's a great question. I think what makes the African voice unique on global platforms is both some positives and both some negatives. In terms of the negatives, as we were saying earlier, there are so many different African languages and dialects and accents and voices. But usually, when you go on these platforms, they blanket everything as an African accent. And as they were saying earlier as well, what we consider an African accent or a Nigerian accent or a Ugandan accent is sometimes not African enough for people in other parts of the world. They want something, I would say, a little bit more fictitious, a little bit more exaggerated, not really how people on the continent speak. So we do have some challenges on global platforms in the sense that we are somewhat underrepresented and misrepresented as well. But what I would say gives us a unique opportunity, particularly for the financial side of things, is that I find that African jobs on these platforms tend to be very lucrative because, by and large, our voices are a bit harder to find on these global platforms. we don't necessarily have the infrastructure that they have in the West to find voice actors and source voice actors easily. And we don't have the platforms like they do for American accents or British accents. So I think that gives us a unique opportunity that when you do put yourself out there as an African voice actor and you can link to your demos and show your work and show your portfolio, I think you are well compensated for having that unique sound and tone that only you can bring and fewer people in the global space can bring. And particularly with the growing use of AI voices, I think us having our own unique African and rich African voices and stories and dialects and ways of speaking and tones and rhythms, it gives us an advantage over an American accent, for example, which is so common. Even robots can do it quite convincingly these days. Our accents, our languages, our dialects are so varied and so unique that it gives us the opportunity to bring that uniqueness to projects for longer than I would think other accents can compete in that uniqueness, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that really makes sense. Thank you so much, Kwesi. My next question is for Leslie. Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, Leslie. Yeah, of course.
Hi.
So, my question for you, Leslie, how do you maintain authenticity while adapting to international standards? How do we remain authentic to our African heritage?
I think for me, the only way that you can maintain creativity, I mean, maintain your authenticity while showing up in an international space, is to remember that if somebody has chosen you as a voice actor, they've already kind of predetermined your voice and they already know what they want, you know? Nobody's asking you to go out there and pretend to be anything else. So I think it's just showing up as yourself. I believe that as Africans, voice artists, people in the creative sector in general, we need to just show up as ourselves, especially now because the whole world is so hungry, and is really discovering Africa in so many different and amazing ways. So yeah, I think that the best way is to just show up as yourself. Once you show up as yourself, you're basically you're a head and shoulders above everybody else because nobody else can be you, right? So that's how I
Yeah.
think to remain authenticity.
Yes, of course. And they chose us and they know where are we from and they heard the samples. So they are sure about that. So
Yeah,
we remain Africans by the end of the day.
definitely
Yeah.
100%.
Yes, of course. Great. Thank you so much. So my next question is for Emeka. I can see that you worked as with the global brands like HP, Milo, and Coca-Cola. So what challenges have you faced breaking into international market? Emeka?
Right. Thank you for that question. I'm going to respond to that question as a casting director. Because the bulk of
Mm-hmm.
my work is as a casting and as a casting and voice acting director.
Yeah.
Um, um, I'll take you back to Shobo's speech. Cast your mind back. I started the View Africa in 2012. Nigerian Voice Bank in 2012. In 2012, to cast Nigerian voices globally was a hurdle. People couldn't find um, people couldn't find Nigerian voices online. Now, when I noticed that there was that gap, I introduced the Nigerian Voice Bank, and what we intended to do was to bridge the gap from global brands looking to cast African voices living in Africa. Right. So because for us, the very first thing was the fact that we showed up online. We created a platform. Because we created a platform, we could be found and people could reach out to us. But it went beyond creating a platform. We also created a data bank for great voices. It was a hurdle. We wouldn't talk about the journey to get to that point of convincing talents then to get on the bank because it was weird. It's unthinkable. People didn't know there was anything like that. But the fact that we created a platform that connected global brands to local talent was the big deal for us, was what created that opportunity. So we connected to those brands, and then when they reached out to us, we could deliver. So after the pandemic, one of the things you would also have realized is that some advertising agencies have closed, as they've closed shop in Africa. They've come to realize that, hey, they can do these jobs from wherever. They can cast talents from wherever. So we became a lot more relevant. So this brand, because their agencies are no longer based in Africa, they were looking for talents in Africa. They're looking for cheaper ways to cast voices without having local presence. And then we were there. And then we connected the talent. So that's in simple form how all of that happened. What are the challenges? Finding the talent, matching the talent to the client, and also do the sessions, which is getting the talent to understand the script, deliver the script, understand what the client is looking for, getting the talent to understand that this is professional work. It's not how you want it done, it's how the client wanted it done. But I think at this stage we've gone past all of that.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing. Thank you so much, Emeka. I have another question for Kwesi. You're a British Ghanaian, and you already worked with Marvel Studios and Amazon Publishing. I faced that personally as well with international clients. So my question for you is, what do international clients often misunderstand about African voice talents? Sometimes they don't believe I'm from Africa, and I'm
Yeah.
really shocked why I am African. Yeah, I sound like that. What's wrong with that? You know?
No,
So
it's really true.
yeah.
Not to interrupt you, but I feel like the biggest issue that we have as African voiceover artists working abroad is that they don't know what the diversity of African accents sound like. I think there is a sound and a tone that's quite presumed in the West.
Mhm.
They think we all sound like that, but we don't. There's so many different dialects and tones. People who live in two different villages apart, they're not far from each other, can sound very different based on where they were raised and how they were raised. So I think what a lot of casting directors and people misunderstand about an African accent is just because it doesn't sound like what you might have in your head is an African accent doesn't mean it's not an African accent, an authentic one, and
Yes.
a legitimate one within a specific region or place in Africa.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So that was really an incredible conversation, guys. It's full of passion and truth, and we really benefited from this. So a huge thank you for our amazing speakers, all of you guys, for sharing your journeys and your voices and your vision with us today. So that brings us to the end of this session, this panel.
Hope that it's left you feeling inspired and powerful. So let's go back to T-Code to continue our beautiful day.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Shahenda from Egypt. It's been a pleasure watching you. I believe you can hear me. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I
All
can
right.
hear you now. And by the way, it's a special year. It's 5th of 5th, 2025. And
Yeah.
it's a very special number this year as well. So it's my pleasure to be here. And thank you so much, Decode.
It's a pleasure having you as well. And shout out to you. You did an amazing job, moderating this session, talking about amplifying local voices for global reach. I'm sure a lot of people heard a lot of things. I learned a lot of things from this session, from the things that Emeka said as a casting director, what a perspective he gave into, this entire conversation and how he has used this platform using tech, to amplify voices, African voices for global reach. And that's something that should be encouraged. I also listened to Kwesi from Ghana telling us about the uniqueness of the African voices. And it was quite interesting. Not something that we don't know, but something that I think the world needs to know more about, the uniqueness of our voices from the different accents to the different languages to the different countries. Africa is very vast. I recall Sheon Shubal mentioned we have over 2,000 languages in Africa, and that's very much true. And the more the world is able to understand this, the more they can engage with us better as African voiceover talent. I also heard as Leslie also from South Africa talked about the uniqueness of the African voice. There's a lot to learn from this session, and I'll encourage you to go back to it after today's event and, sponge as much as you can from it. And we can together amplify our voices for the global landscape. All right, we're still in the event for African Voices, Africa Voiceover Day on the 5th of May, 2025. Tell somebody to tell somebody who is a voiceover artist that if you're not here, you are missing a lot. And in case you're trying to squeeze into the room and it's not letting you in, you can go to YouTube right now. We are streaming this live on YouTube, and tell someone to be on YouTube and be a part of the conversation. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to get into the next panel session. And I've been enjoying the conversations. I can't wait for us to talk about this one, which talks about building the future. What's next for voiceovers in Africa? We've been hearing a lot of talks about AI and technology. What are the opportunities? What are the threats? Can we collaborate? What other things can we do to ensure that AI in Africa, not AI, apologies, but the future of the African voiceover industry is secure? What's next for VO in Africa? Before we get straight into that, again, I want to see where you're watching us from. I want to know which country, which language this time around. Yes, we spoke about the locations, people from Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt, and all of that. I want to know the language that you speak or the tribe that you're from. So I want you guys to put that in the comment section. You never know. There could be a casting director looking for someone who speaks that language. And just by putting it out there, you might, okay, already we're getting it. Yoruba, okay, that's from Nigeria. I see all of that. Mombasa from Kenya. I'm about to learn a lot of languages I never knew existed right now. I see a lot of Yoruba. Native Swahili. Interesting. We've got Kikuyu from Kenya. Swahili Kidawida. Wow, that's interesting. I guess that's Kenyan as well. French from Kenya. Osas says Pidgin, aka Nigerian Pidgin. Interesting. Igbo from Nigeria. Wow, fantastic. I see a lot of Yoruba and Kenya, Swahili. Interesting. Great, 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 great. All right, guys, I like that. So this time around, we're going to go ahead to the next session as I introduce our next panel host, who is a very dear friend and colleague of mine. She is a very amazing voiceover artist with years of experience in this business. And it's my pleasure to bring her up as the next guest or the next panel host for the Africa Voiceover Day. And if you're having a good time, just drop an emoji in the comments. All right, to take us into this session, we have Eniola Keshinro from Nigeria, who is a prominent Nigerian voiceover artist renowned for dynamic vocal range and compelling storytelling abilities. With years of experience in the industry, she has voiced numerous commercials, documentaries, corporate projects for brands like Visa, Nivea, Rio Tinto, and Showmax, establishing herself as a versatile and sought-after African voice talent in the voiceover community. She can also be heard on TV promos for DSTV and GoTV. Her dedication to the craft and commitment to excellence has made her a respectable figure among peers and clients alike. I'm talking about the delectable Eniola Keshinro, who will be hosting this panel session saying, Building the Future, What's Next for VOs in Africa? And expect an amazing conversation with panelists like Wakio Mzenge from Kenya, King E from Nigeria, Sheon Shoba from Nigeria, Nadim Khalid from Egypt, and Craig Ross right from South Africa. So with a round of applause represented by emojis in the comment section, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on Eniola Keshinro. Hi, Eniola.
Hi, T-Code. Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you so much, T-Code. Thank you also, Dr. Shahenda, and the brilliant panelists from the session we just had. I'm sure that you will all agree with me that African Voiceover Day has been powerful so far. From the rich history of AVD told by the delectable Jennifer Canary to the very powerful keynote address, it's been great and it's about to get even more explosive. Participants, I would just like you, I acknowledge you, I celebrate you, but I'd like you to celebrate every speaker who has spoken here today in the comment section. Please just give them an emoji or just leave one comment for them in the comment section. Just appreciate all our speakers so far. It's been really great. And also, I just wanted to remind us to go on social media. Don't forget to share your experiences on social media. Don't forget to use the hashtags, hashtag Africa Voiceover Day and hashtag AVD 2025 to celebrate your day and to celebrate your beautiful voices. My name is Eniola Keshiro, and it's such an honor to moderate another dynamic conversation between, I call them African giants because that's who they are, African voiceover giants. So again, welcome to our panel. This panel is titled Building the Future, What's Next for Voiceover in Africa? Today, we're diving into the evolution of voice work across the continent, from the rise of AI and digital platforms to training gaps, collaboration models, and how African voice talent can build sustainable careers in a fast-changing industry. I mean, we heard here when Shion Shobo was talking about how people didn't even have proper studios to record, and now we have home studios across Africa. So we're going to take a look at that, how technology is changing the landscape of voiceovers. We're going to be learning from a group of passionate creatives and professionals who are not just navigating this space, but they're actively shaping it. Let me start by introducing our panelists, but I want to do it in a different way. So once I read their profiles, in the spirit of Africa, I would like our panelists to do something for us. Please indulge me. After my introduction, after I read your profile, please teach us one phrase in your mother tongue. It could be a phrase, it could be a word, it could be a greeting, a proverb, anything at all from your, something that showcases the beauty of your part of Africa. Something that we can all take away from here. Panelists, are we good? Do we have a deal? Amazing. So, starting with from the part of Africa, we have Wakio Nzenge from Kenya. Wakio Nzenge is a multi-award-winning Kenyan screen, stage, and voice actor whose versatility and artistry have made her a revered figure in the creative industry. She commands the screen. She's a beast on stage, and her voice work spans global platforms from the Cannes Award-winning The Stain Not Shame campaign to projects for Dush Well, AMREF, and Discovery Learning. Wakio currently serves as the Secretary of Kenya Actors Guild and the Organizing Secretary of Vala Capital. Wakio never passes an opportunity to share her professional experiences, knowledge, skills, and insights. You find her in conferences, in workshops, on virtual training sessions, and even writes at the Kenya National Theatre, where young actors would stop her to pick her brain on projects they're working on. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome in the comment section to Wakio Nzenge. Wakio, please teach us something that we can take away from Kenya.
Oh, thank you so much for that introduction. And I would teach you to say chawucha.
Charucha. Okay, can we echo that in the comment section? Amazing. What does that mean?
Chabucha just means Thank you very much. I'll just type it up in
Beautiful.
the comment sessions that you can see the spellings.
Okay, please do that for us. Thank you so much. You're very welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, the giants of Africa in the room, we have King E. Afemihe from Nigeria. Emmanuel Afemihe, popularly known as King E, is a distinguished Nigerian voiceover artist, coach, and producer with over a decade of experience. He's the founder of Voiceover Workshop and Media, a premier training and production institute, and the convener of the Voiceover Conference, Africa's leading voiceover event. King E's contribution to the industry have been recognized with the prestigious Voiceover Legacy Award at the Africa Podcast and Voice Awards APVA, highlighting his role in shaping the careers of numerous voiceover talents across the continent. King E, you are very welcome. Please teach us something in your mother tongue.
Hello, Anike. Hello, everyone. How are you doing?
Hi.
My mother
We're great.
tongue. Maybe I should just go with Wakio to say thank you. Uwegbe. Uwegbe. Thank you.
Wigby. Okay,
Yeah.
beautiful. Please type that up in the comments for us so that we can echo it. Thank you so much, King E. You're welcome to this panel.
Thank you.
Also from Nigeria, we have Seun Shobo, who is widely known as the brand master. He's a multifaceted Nigerian brand consultant, premium voiceover talent, and inspirational speaker, like we heard today. He founded Voiceover Solutions Limited, which established Nigeria's first training hub for voiceover talent, the Voiceover Academy, and the continent's largest pool of professional voiceover talent. Shobo's voice has represented some of Africa's biggest brands, and his influence extends globally as an international ambassador of the Society of Voice Arts and Sciences, SOVAS. In recognition of his contributions, he received the Voice Arts Global Influencer Award. Please welcome Seun Shobo, the brand master. Please teach us something in your mother tongue.
Hi, everyone. Well,
Nah.
my mother tongue, I could just say Eshio and Yomi.
Eshio
Eshio,
Inyemi.
it means thank you, my people. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. You're very welcome to this panel. And next, from the gift of the Nile, Egypt, we have Nadim Khalid. Nadim Khalid is a seasoned Egyptian voiceover artist whose voice resonates across Arabic TV, radio, and digital platforms. Since beginning his career in 2010, he has completed over 3,000 projects for clients including Mercedes-Benz, McDonald's, and HSBC. Nadim is also the founder of the Egyptian Voiceover Union, EVU, a platform that has facilitated over $350,000 worth of projects and contributed to creating Egypt's first voiceover rate guide. He continues to mentor emerging talents through Gravy for the Brain Arabia, fostering growth in the MENA region's voiceover industry. Welcome to this panel, Nadim.
Thank you so much, Aniola. I really appreciate the introduction. And what I would love to say is, عاشت أفريقيا في حرية وازدهار. Long live
I meant to
Africa
try
and
to
freedom
say
and
that.
prosperity. Well, I can
I
type it
really wanted
phonetically
to
in
try to
English
say that.
letters.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. We're truly celebrating the beauty of our culture as Africans. So thank you for sharing that with us. Last but definitely not least, from the Rainbow Nation, inspiring new ways, we have South Africa's very own Craig Ross. Craig Ross is a dynamic South African voiceover artist and the founder of the South African Voiceover Academy, SAVOA. With a rich background in radio and sound engineering, Craig has brought to life numerous projects across commercials, documentaries, and character animations. His commitment to excellence is evident in his state-of-the-art studio setup and his passion for mentoring the next generation of voiceover talents. Craig's energetic and engaging style makes him a standout figure in the African voiceover landscape. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Craig Ross from South Africa.
Ladies and gentlemen, Craig Ross. It was like a
I love that.
Guys, thank you. Thank you so much. What a wonderful welcome, and just so beautiful to be here. What can I teach you in my mother tongue? Well, let's just call it a South African colloquialism, and I think Leslie will laugh at this as I tell you, well, how's it, my bro? That's like how we would say hello to one of our friends. How's it? Check Leslie laughing. How's it, my
Well,
bro?
she did laugh.
There you go. There you go. So that means hello to a friend. There you go. How's it, my bro?
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us, to all our beautiful panelists. Let's just get right into the questions. And I think the first question, I would like to throw that to Nadeem. And it's quite broad, but if you could just give us your perspective on that. It's how is AI reshaping voiceover in Africa?
Well, the good side of this, the good side of the story of AI in Africa, especially, is because of the variety of languages in Africa, how much they are, and how there are so many accents. Even in in my main language, which is Arabic, there are so many accents that it's taking quite some time for people to be able to say that there are really impressive AI alternatives available. They did nail a few, but I would say that it's actually remarkable what's happening in the world of AI in terms of its effect on the voiceover industry. And I have a kind of a motto that I keep repeating, and I hear all over the conferences I attend and so on. It's that those who are afraid of AI are the ones who are not going to be able to use it and catch up to what's happening. And basically, I really think it's changing the landscape of how voiceover works, even for professionals. Because if you do think of it as a threat, well, you're kind of right. But I mean, the better approach would be to think of it as an opportunity and how you can use it to enable and improve yourself as a voiceover artist. So rather than just being you, use AI and figure out how you could add more value to the services you give. So let's say a scientist in, I don't know, astrology, on their own, they're able to do a specific amount of calculations in their brain to be able to resolve problems or give output, as in value. But aided with AI, they're actually able to expand their vision and knowledge and get into areas where they never thought they would even go. And I have been very, how do you say this? I took the risk of using a lot of AI platforms, even cloning my voice on several AI platforms, putting it out there to see, will there actually be damage, or can I turn it into a win? And honestly, the results are astonishing. I never thought that the service I provide could be even better, because there are opportunities where people are really interested in not just exploring using voiceover through AI only, but they actually go for the voiceover artist that is aided by AI. So I do feel that the ones that will make it will be the ones who are able to use AI as an aiding device for them to give more value. And yeah, hope I didn't talk too much.
Oh no, you didn't. And I think that's very interesting, because that would just bring me to the next question. But I'd like to hear another perspective on the panel. So if I could just take this to Shion Shobo, if you could also give us your perspective on that question. But let's take it from where Nadeem stopped. You know, sometimes when we hear AI, because we're voiceover artists, we only think about voice cloning. Are there other applications of AI that voiceover talents should be looking at? And I think this question is for Shion Shobo. If you could please just answer that for us.
Thank you, Eniola. For me, like I said in my speech, AI technology is something to be welcome, but it can be a disruptor and a doorway. All right. It's a two-way thing. It's a two-way street. And one of the things that we must understand is that there are so many opportunities as much as there are so many threats, right? But what we have to do as much as possible is find a way to encourage our countries, right, to have policies that will not allow technology harm our voices. Now, what do I mean by that? Policies that actually make sure that when your voice is being cloned or anything is happening with your voice, as especially for the AI data sets. So you have AI data sets, you have cloning, voice cloning, you have a lot of other things that AI does, especially or AI voices can do. at the end of the day, those things, when they're collected, right, or they're used to train machines, what is the, how do I put it? What's the guarantee that those voices are going to be well kept? Now, those are the issues. Or those are the issues. What's the guarantee that your voice is not going to be heard in another place or in another country without you being knowing about? So, what I would say or advocate for AI right now, especially as as concerning voiceover, it has to do with licensing, on understanding that there should be there should also be a technology where you're able to monitor your voice in real time. If it's being cloned or if it's being used. So that is also something, an AI idea that people should bring to the. I think they already have it, right? But in Africa, we need something that will be that popular and democratized, such that people can also use it to trace their voice in this age of AI, right?
Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much. And still speaking on AI, as much as possible, I want it to be a touch and go, but this is a very delicate topic right now because we have talents who are on both sides of the divide. We have people who are actively embracing artificial intelligence, and we have people who are actively averse to using it right now. And we're speaking about the future of voiceover in Africa, and this is new technology that it looks like we can't do without. So I just want us to stay on this topic a little bit before we move on to something else. Wakio, if you could please just answer this next question. Still on, technology and AI. What do you think that we should be doing now to ensure that African voice talent benefits from this technological shift? And if I could just guide you a little bit on that. Sometimes as a continent, we tend to play catch up, especially when there's technological advancement. How do you think that we now as Africans can not only benefit from the technological shift, but also lead the charge? Wakir, please answer that for us, please.
Thank you so much, Eniola. I remember very well when computers first came. My mother was a legal secretary, and she made us believe that she is going to lose her job because she was used to shorthand and typing with the typewriter. But the minute she started shifting her mindset and embracing the new technology, what happened is that she was able to catch on, and she was able to go with the trends, and she was able to secure her income and her job. And so technology is here to stay, and it's advancing very quickly. So if you don't catch up with it, you'll find yourself on your own. But at the same time, as much as AI is creating efficiency in terms of there are certain jobs that are actually already taken by AI, especially entry-level voiceover jobs that don't need, the cultural nuances, or they don't need particular dialects or particular pronunciations or inflections and all that. But as Shobo said in his speech, legislation becomes very key in that as voiceover artists, let's not be left behind in conversations around governance and policy making. We need to add our voices, and we need to be able to attend. I don't know how it happens in other countries, but in our country, in Kenya, what happens is when a policy is being passed, then it goes to public engagement. And if you're not there as an artist to speak up for yourself, then you lose out an opportunity to safeguard your interests. And so what I would encourage us as voiceover artists is that we need to champion for, first of all, the governments to recognize us as a profession. I don't know how it is in other places, but in Kenya still, you might find that when they're talking about creative economy, voiceover artists are not part of the designations that fall under creative economy. So it's to fight for your space first so that you can be able to push for legislature that will protect intellectual property and avoid these, ethical dilemmas where you find that your voice has been used without consent, or maybe, your intellectually property rights have been breached. So I'd encourage us to really pursue that. Also, another thing that voiceover artists can do is to really zoom into those contracts and to see what does it talk about, like reusing my voice or cloning my voice. So be careful in the contracts that you're signing especially with international agents, and make sure that you know that you're protected and that your voice cannot be replicated elsewhere. Basically, it's just being alert and being involved, because governance and policy is the way to protect and safeguard us.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much for just highlighting that. And I love what you said about contracts. Everyone pay attention to your contract. If you can get it to a lawyer, it's best that you find a lawyer to have a look at your contracts before you sign it. Take a look at the fine prints. Sometimes they're just sneaking in that they're going to be sharing this with a third party. Usually that third party might be a cloning service or an AI service that is going to replicate your voice. So it's really important that you mentioned that, Wakio. Thank you so much. Now let's just move the needle a bit to voiceover education. And I would like King E to answer this next question. What would you say? We already know to an extent what is going very well in terms of VO education and training on the continent. In your opinion, what would you say is lacking in VO education and training right now in Africa? And what can we do to, to bring that up to speed?
All right, thank you so much, Eniola. Amazing speeches so far, right? To answer your question, I think that first of all, I just want to throw in this. We need to try as much as we can as voice actors to guard our hearts, because the Bible says, guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it comes the issues of life. So if you want to look at it from your career as a voice actor, you want to guard your heart from external distractions, fear that says, oh, this thing is going negatively for me because you have not done some things. The other thing is that we also need to understand that spirituality is different from reality, okay? Because you are so keen about prayer and serving God, as it were, is different from the reality that you have as a voice actor, okay? Now, that said, I would say that some of the things, or one of the things lacking from the voiceover industry right now, I think there are several ones, but one of the ones that I would say emphatically is the business of what we do. All right. A lot of people major on let my voice sound really nice. I want to sound great. Oh, I hear my voice on radio. It sounds good. Disregarding whether we're making money from it, whether there's turnover from it, whether there's scalability from it, we are not concerned about that. We just want to wait for the next job without thinking, scaling, without thinking taxes, without thinking contracts. I think that institutions of training in Africa needs to start paying attention to these things, that people don't just come through your training of a couple of weeks or a couple of days, and then they go and all they are thinking about is how to use their voices, right? And that's just it. This is a business. This is a big deal. How you see it, the concept you have, your mental understanding of it can affect so much. And all of these things must be brought into our everyday trainings, right? From your mindset, okay, to what you see about it, to the practicality of the work that we do. It's not just prayer and fasting, but the reality. If you don't put certain things in place, right now we're talking AI, and some people are feeling like, oh, AI will take my job. It will if you think that. If you think that it's an opportunity, it will be an opportunity. All right. So when we do our trainings, right, we need to start thinking of these things. How can people be a bit more strategic? How can people understand branding a bit more? What are other skills that contribute to your success as a voiceover artist? How can we start learning these things? Because the world has gone past, oh, I just have a lovely voice and that's how it works. Ask Sheon Shobo, ask whoever, ask Wakio. You realize that everything that we do goes past just having a sweet voice. All right. There's also the part of taking risks, understanding and seeing the future even when no one sees it. And we have to find a way to bring these things into our everyday trainings, our everyday lives as voice actors, to implement them, to learn them, to start taking actions around them for our industry to be better.
Wow. Thank you so much, King E. Thank you. So if I heard that correctly, is to expand the curriculum to also contain the business side of voiceovers and also to cater to the mindset and the, developing the right mental models in voiceover artists that we are training, right? Thank you so much for sharing that important point. And I see how sometimes we can miss out on that. But thank you so much for sharing that. And I would like to bring the question now to Craig Ross. And this question would be two in one. At first, I want Craig to answer as a voiceover artist and also as an audio content producer. So, Craig, what would you say excites you the most about where voiceover is headed in Africa within the next, say, 5 to 10 years? Okay, is Craig there? Okay, I'm not sure Craig is in the room, but I think since I put out that question, I think we have to answer it. So Nadim, if you do not mind answering that, um, yeah, please just go ahead and answer that for us. What are you most
Just
excited about?
what am I most excited about in voiceover?
Yes, please. Where do you see voiceover in Africa in the next 5 to 10 years? First, as a voiceover artist and also as a voiceover production company.
That's a very hard one. I think Craig's still here, but he just didn't unmute. Well, to be honest, like the thing about Africa is that not just in voiceover, in every single way, Africa is always rich with minerals, rich with culture, rich with everything you could ever think of. And it's always been very unlucky that with the circumstances and everything that happens, that we're not at the lead or forefront of what's happening. But it really makes me feel like I get goosebumps looking at these gatherings and what a lot of fellow Africans are doing, and I'm really cheering for them because it shows that there's a lot of initiative happening towards making the voices louder and higher, towards, I don't know, maybe trying to legalize our rights as voiceovers across the continent, or trying to set the tone we have with other continents or other markets. And what I do see is that there's a whole new generation that has, I'm not calling us old, but I'm just saying the newer generation is listening from us, that they can really shout very loud and try to protect their futures out of being voiceovers, or I don't know, whatever hybrid job is going to become out of AI being integrated with voiceover. And to be honest, I'm quite excited to see what that new version of Gen Zers and after those will take the industry, because like, I don't know, I just feel like Africa, it's time for Africa, honestly. Like you see it across the movies, across songs, across everything. Africa is rising really, really high, and I'm just watching and applauding, honestly. And great job for every single one of you guys, like Sean Shogo and King E and everybody that, even like Tualupe, like you do a lot of effort that I watch, and I'm like, where do these people get this energy from to do everything they're doing for everybody on the continent? So kudos to you, kudos to everybody here, and I guess thank you for listening to me.
All right. Thank you so much, Nadine. I don't know if Craig is back in the room because we would really love to hear from Craig. Is he back in the room? T-Code, could you scan the room for us?
No,
But
he's not.
whilst,
Checked
oh,
already.
he's not. Okay, so whilst we just wait for Craig in case he comes back into the room, I think I'll just like to open up the panel to one question from the audience, if my panelists will please indulge me. I know that there might be some burning questions in the audience right now that, somebody just wants to ask they want to tap into the wealth of the experience of our panelists. So if that's you, if you have a question that you'd like our panelists to ask, please feel free to raise your hand right now or just drop it in the comment section and then I will read that out. Oh, I see a hand. Wakir's hand is up. Okay, Wakir. Yeah, you have the floor, Wakir.
All right, thank you. I just want to comment on two things, on the educational gaps, and then of course where I plan to see, I would love to see the industry go. One is, I think people want to make money, so people don't want just to train. and not be able to know what next, or how they're able to make the money from it, or how they're able to turn into what King was calling a business. And so from the educator's point of view, it's the linkages between what you learn and how to apply it in the marketplace. And I think that's one thing that has been lacking for us, that we are not really linking them to the business. And this is how I would suggest, if you're going to do a workshop or you're going to do a training, let it come in net to something. Let it not just be training and then people leave. Guide them and build alumni communities where they can later be collaborating together. They can be networking, and they can also do their own productions themselves. We've done this in theater. When we train actors for a period of time, after the training is over, they put up a show. And after they put up a show, they've invited people, and casting directors can come and see them, and some of them are given jobs. So I'd really want to encourage us to just not just train and leave them, because then the business is just for the one who's training. It's not adding value to the industry, but to elevate the whole audio industries that we train them and also link them to the opportunities. Where do I see the future of voice acting in Africa? I think the future is in collaboration rather than in competition. And if we move away from competing with each other and come together, musicians have figured this out. When you see Sauti Sol from Kenya collaborating with India Ari from the United States, what they're doing is a strategic move. Burna Boy collaborating with Diamond, it's a strategic move to increase that market reach, and to also introduce new styles and nuances. And these collaborations are what is going to help us to expand our market, expand our reach, and to make the gig economy very sustainable. I'll give a practical example. You see, there are not so many audiobooks. When you're hiring a voice, and our casting director can guide us here, when you're hiring a voice for an audiobook, you won't hire 10, 20 people. You're probably going to hire one person. And you can imagine the number of people that we are training. How many audiobooks will take care of all these people? So we must start thinking of what are the genres, or what are the styles that can accommodate many voiceover artists. That's why I find myself as a champion of radio dramas, audio plays, and animations, because these are the ones that actually cater for the majority of voiceover artists. And it takes care of both novice, takes care of pro and intermediate voiceover artists. And these can be created, these opportunities can be created even after this meeting. If all of us just team up in a different WhatsApp group and say, guys, let's collaborate and let's do this production. And you see, the collaboration goes beyond the voice artists, it goes towards the whole ecosystem. So bringing in studio owners, bringing in sound engineers, bringing in casting directors, bringing in the whole ecosystem to come together and collaborate. Africa has so many stories to tell, and we are the ones who have the power to tell them authentically, with our accents, with the originality the stories deserve. And we can only do this if we come together and stop over-depending or the over-reliance on international jobs. The jobs are here. We need to make them ourselves. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rakio. That was so powerful. And I think it just encapsulates all that we've been trying to say here today. Thank you so much for just adding that very robust, addition to the entire conversation today. Thank you. I also see Sean Shoba's hand up, and I see CG Moses. CG Moses, I think he has a question to ask. So I would like to take that question, and then I would pass it to Sean Shoba, and we can wrap up the entire conversation. So CG Moses, you have the floor. Please unmute and ask your question.
Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely. We can hear you.
Thank you. Amazing panel there, and Wakil. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that is a serious slap to the face, like, wow, indeed, that's what we definitely got to do. My question goes to the whole panel. I'm an AI user, but on a whole different level, different section, because I'm visually impaired. I usually use a screen reader to do my audio production as an audio producer here at Booker Studios. But I was wondering how to best use AI for production itself, like with softwares and all. audio software, with the audio production softwares, editing, how to best use it and how to actually just go about it as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Which of our panelists would like to answer that question?
Any of them could. I believe.
Any of oh no. Okay, great.
All of them actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So,
The more the merrier.
okay, thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that question. And I think
Thank you.
it would lead to an even wider conversation, because I remember when I was asking about, other use cases for AI, sometimes we just think about voice cloning only when we think about AI in voiceovers, but there are just other use cases. But I'm sure that somebody on the panel will be able to answer that question for you. But please just hold on to that. Let's hear from Shoba, and then I think someone else on the panel will respond, and then we can close the panel. Over to
Okay.
you, Brandon.
So I answering the last question. I know that there are production tools, AI production tools. If you go online, you find a lot of them. I mean, there was one I was able to use about 4 days ago, right? I was trying to adjust something, but it wasn't working. So I looked up. I just said, let me even try this. So I went on. I had to pay $20 though, but it was called Layla.ai, right? It helped me smoothing something that I was trying to smoothing out, right? I was trying to create something, a cheat mode somewhere, and it worked. And I was able to send it to the client, and the client was like, okay, I like this. I like this. So as much as possible, you can use those products. There are a lot of them online like that. There's Layla.ai. That was the one I used. There are a couple of other ones that you can use like that. If you put,
I think there's also Adobe Podcast, but I think that's just basic
yeah, that's just
audio
basically.
cleaner.
But even Adobe has some AI tools that you can also use as well, right? A lot of these softwares they also have inbuilt AI tools that you can also use as well. So as much as possible, even Adobe does have that as well, some AI tools, but some of them are more advanced than the others, right? So as much as possible, um, please go there. There are so many things. I'm sure someone like King E to will have some other advices for you on everything. But one of the things I wanted to add to the conversation on the educational one is there's something called pedagogy, right? As educators, people that educate people, and it's basically like the methodology of how you teach and how you instruct. One of the things that I find lacking in voiceover training in Africa is that, right? When you find a lot of people are doing classes, everybody's teaching voiceover, but the challenge is we must be careful not to produce half-baked people. All right, the fact that you're a great voiceover talent does not necessarily mean that you're a good teacher. All right. And if you want to be a better teacher for voiceover, you must understand instructional design. You must also understand, curriculum development, curriculum frameworks. These are things that you must understand. It's not just, oh, I just woke up one morning, I'm very good with voiceover and I want to teach it. No, it doesn't work that way. When you want people to really understand something, you must also understand the psychology of teaching. You must understand instructional design. You must understand curriculum development or frameworks. These things are things that people pay for. These are things I paid for. These are things I paid to learn so that I could deliver better to the people I'm teaching. So you don't just wake up and just say, oh, I'm a great teacher. I can just teach. Yeah, some people are gifted, but please, as much as possible, still go back to learn those things. Which is why, like Kingi was saying, a lot of times you find that they have big people, they're just very interested in their voices. Oh, my voice is so good, it's beautiful. But the business parts of it, right? The scalability, taxes, right? How your voiceover business adds to the GDP of the country or the country where you come from or the continent itself. These are all these little things are very important. So as much as possible, we should consider those things, especially for those of us that teach. And there should also be my own advice. There should also be a place where we're able to regulate even coaching, voiceover coaching, right? Nobody just wakes up one morning and just says, "Oh, I can coach." No, now that's on one side. Then the second side, exciting things about the voiceover industry. There's so many exciting things. I mean, in 2019, I was talking to a couple of students and I told them, I said, listen, very soon the world will be scrambling around for African stories. All right. Yeah. And the truth is, in 2020, 2023, 2022, 2023, we saw a Disney Iwaju. I mean, I'm talking from the Nigerian perspective.
Right.
Full Nigerian cast. We saw an Iyanu. Some of them are on this call. That's a whole new game. That's a whole new ball game. We are taking over. The things are happening, right? So, the future is so bright, right? But what I want to push is, listen, as much as people can tell our stories from the Western world, right? We need to start telling our stories. So we need to get more investors. We need to show ourselves more structured, right? So that we can attract investors and different things, right? Or different people that can fund these things so that Africans can start funding African stories. Africans can start telling African stories, right? And we know that this is strictly African. And yeah, basically, those are my
Right.
contributions.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Pramasad. That was very robust. And that brings us to the very end of our wonderful panel session. I will now hand over to T-Code. But before I do that, I would just like to say a very big thank you to our lovely panelists for taking the time and sharing their wealth of experience, knowledge, expertise with us here today. Participants, if you could please just leave one word that described this panel session, leave that in the comment section for us. And also, can I ask one thing as well? Please make sure that you follow all our panelists on their socials. Wakio, Shobo, King E, Nadim, and then Craig Ross. Thank you so much. This has been a very lovely panel. It's been an honor to navigate this conversation, and happy Africa Voiceover Day to all of us. Thank you, T-Code. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, NK. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Wow,
Thank you, Annie.
this has been an amazing session. Wow. That was NK with King E, Sheun Shobo, Nadim Khalid from Egypt. And Craig was here earlier from South Africa. And they were, plus Waki Mzingi from Kenya with some amazing punchlines. And we're talking about building the future. What's next for VO in Africa? They touched on AI, on training, on business. It was just so rich. And you think you've heard it all until you check the comment section, and people are dropping amazing stuff as well on the comment section. Great questions too. I'm blessed to be here. Again, happy Africa Voiceover Day to everyone. And I hope you're enjoying yourself. I hope you're having a good time. Just to remind you, the session is ongoing on YouTube as well. We have over 50 people watching on YouTube, and I'm sure the numbers keeps getting higher. So spread the word, share the link, and let people be a part of this conversation. Okay, we've had two amazing sessions so far. We had the first one talking about amplifying local voices for global reach, and we just had the second one now talking about building the future, what's next for VO in Africa. We still have another session coming up really soon, and that one will be talking about building communities, voiceover communities in Africa. But I just want to take a moment to say thank you to everyone who has spoken so far. You've been adding flavor to this year's celebration of Africa Voiceover Day, where we're talking about the spirit of Africa, celebrating heritage and building the future. Right now, we're going to take a break to listen to something that was well cooked by the Voice Actors League of Africa. If you're hearing that for the first time, the Voice Actors League of Africa is a platform, a community, an organization that was founded or co-founded by Jennifer Kanari from Kenya. It started as the Voice Actors League of Kenya, and now it has evolved to the Voice Actors League of Africa. And the team and community members came together to do a beautiful presentation about Africa Voiceover Day and the voices of Africa. We'll be listening to that, and much later we're also going to listen to the presentations or the submissions of African talents for Africa Voiceover Day. But now let's listen to this presentation, and then we get straight to the next panel session for this year's Africa Voiceover Day. I'll be sharing my screen now, and I hope you enjoy this fabulous presentation. I'll be right back, guys. Enjoy.
Have you ever wondered what wisdom sounds like across Africa?
Absolutely. From presidents to activists, writers to environmentalists, Africa's voices have shaped history and continue to inspire.
And today we're honored to share some of those voices with you.
That's right. The third cohort of Valor's Mentorship Accountability Program, also known as the Kickers, has put together this special production.
So travel with us through the continent, starting from the Valor headquarters corner of East Africa, through these select quotes from remarkable African figures.
Their voices tell a story of resilience, leadership, and vision.
I'm Jennifer Canary.
And I'm Doranya Bouquet.
And we are the mentors of the Valor Mentorship Program. So sit back and listen and let the voices of Africa inspire you in
Valor's tribute to great African voices. And Africa Voiceover Day.
That's right, Africa Voiceover Day.
Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, Wakenya wenzangu, we are called to assist the earth to heal her wounds, and in the process, heal our own. Wangari Maathai.
In the Pearl of Africa, where no one should be poor, poverty is rooted in injustice. Winnie Byanyima.
Tanzania. Unity will not make us rich, but it can make it difficult for Africa and the African people to be disregarded and humiliated. Mwalimu Julius Nyerere.
Ethiopia.
Throughout history, it has been the inaction of those who could have acted, the indifference of those who should have known better, the silence of the voice of justice when it mattered most that has made it possible for evil to triumph. Haile Selassie.
Burundi. Let me tell you, our culture is a unifying force that reminds us of who we are. Pierre Nkurunziza.
Rwanda. Never refuse anyone who asks you for help. If your pockets are empty, give them hope. Your every action must be born of kindness. Your every word spoken with love. Live as God would have you live, and others will be inspired to do the same. Immaculée Ilibagiza.
DRC Congo.
My fellow countrymen, the day will come when history will speak, but it will not be the history which is taught in Brussels, Paris, or Washington. Africa will write its own history. Patrice Lumumba.
Nigeria.
Until the lions have their own historians, the history of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. Chinua Achebe.
Ghana.
I am not African because I was born in Africa, but because Africa was born in me. Kwame Nkrumah.
Solidarity between women can be a powerful force of change and can influence future development in ways favorable not only to women but also to men. Nawal Elsa Adawi.
South Africa.
It always seems impossible until it is done. Nelson Mandela.
Vala's tribute to great African voices was created and produced by Jennifer Canary, Dora Nyaboke, and the Vala Cohort 3 team, The Kickers. Executive producer, Jennifer Canary. Executive producer, Dora Nyaboke. Cast in order of appearance and country quote. Anna Mwende Wambua, Jennifer Canary, Matthew Mwadhime, Assumpta Kanyoni, Michael Mureithi, Dora Nyaboke, Mercy Khahukani, Grace Kibera, Sarah Mwaitete, Winnie Karaoke, Jerita Mwake, Moses Shira. Sound design, editing, mixing, and mastering, CG Moses of VUCA Studios. Visual production, Dr. Tayo Opakunle. Special thanks to Eric Wainaina for his song Daima Mkenya.
Naishi natumaini najitolea daima Kenya, hakika ya bendera ni uthabiti wangu, nyeusi ya wananchi na nyekundu ni ya damu, kijani ni ya ardhi, nyeupe ya amani. Daima mimi Mkenya, mwananchi mzalendo.
Copyright notice. No part of this audiovisual production may be reproduced or distributed or used without express permission from VALA, the Voice Actors League of Africa. This production was produced in April 2025.
Wow, that was amazing.
Hey,
We
Keynote, kindly unmute.
We can't hear you at all.
Hello, Chico, can you hear me?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me now? I think you can hear me now. Oh, wow. My messages.
Yes.
All right. That was a glitch. I'll try to track back, not so certain where you stopped hearing me from. But I was just about introducing the next guest for rather the moderator for the next panel session. Now, he's a fantastic gentleman who has been a voiceover artist in Ghana for a few years now, and he's the host of the newest podcast on the continent for voiceovers, the VO Playbook podcast. He's the founder of Ghana Voice Actors Community, and he's actively involved in building a vibrant voiceover community in Ghana. So that's Prince Dan Vessel, who is a Ghanaian, and it will be the one moderating this session called Building Voiceover Communities Across Africa. I can't wait for us to get into this because I believe communities are one of the ways to build a solid industry across the continent. So, Prince, I'll hand over the mic to you as you usher with the panelists into this session.
Hello, Tico. Good evening. I'm honored to be on the platform today with you.
Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to welcome you to panel session 3 of this groundbreaking event. My name is Prince Dan Vessel. I'm a Ghanaian voiceover artist. As Tico said, I'm the host of the VO Playbook podcast. And tonight, I'm honored to guide this important conversation titled The Exchange, Building VO Communities Across Africa. Now, in this session, we're going to talk about what it means to build strong, sustainable, and structured VO communities across the continent. From mentorship to collaboration and impact, our panelists tonight are leading this charge in very powerful ways. Now, let me introduce them. First, we have Remi Olutimanye. He's from Nigeria. He's a voice director. He's a coach. He's the founder of the Voice Acting Africa community. He's a respected mentor in Nigeria's VO ecosystem. Welcome, Remi. Next, we have Jennifer Canary from Kenya. She's a seasoned voice artist, and she's the founder of the Voice Actors League of Africa. She has voice campaigned for major brands for, Safaricom, UNICEF, and Nivea. And then we have Bidemi Adedere from Nigeria. She's an audio industry leader. She's the founder of the Association of the African Podcasters and Voice Artists. She's also the founder of the annual Podcast and Voice Awards. Finally, we have Tolipe Kolade, T-Code. He's a multi-talented voiceover creative, known for raising the bar in voice performance and mentoring across West Africa. He's the founder of Voiceverse Nigeria, and he's also the host of Everything Voiceover podcast. And I must say, I'm honored to be on the same platform with you guys. When I saw the list of the panelists, I was like, oh, I'm not worthy to even tie the lace of their shoes. But yeah, you guys are trailblazers in the African voiceover space, and I'm honored to be here with you. Thank you very much. Tico, I'd like to take off with you. Let's start with this foundational question. What makes a healthy VO community?
I think I didn't see that coming. Oh, Lord, what makes a healthy VO community? I think the first thing for a good VO community is a community that makes you feel you are part of something big and you are not small. You could be in a community that makes you feel you are small, in something big, and you could be in a community that makes you feel like you're big, but nothing much is happening. But a balance of both is really important. Now, that's the first thing. Secondly, is that a community that provides support and resources. I think communities that thrive are the ones that people have something to learn, and they have other people's experiences to learn from. It's not enough to be in a community that is just there, right? So I think these are the things that makes communities very good. They are resourceful. I want to be in a place where I feel like I am seen, I am heard, and I can hear others. And I think these are just the things I could just think of from the top of my head.
Amazing. Jennifer, does that reflect what you've seen in Kenya? Hello, Jennifer, are you there?
Yes, having issues here, but I'm on and I'm here.
Okay.
Yes, and yes, piggybacking on that, what Tolu said, that is exactly what we're seeing in Kenya. VALA began very, very humbly, the Voice Actors League of Kenya. Began really as a place where people would feel that they were not alone because it was difficult doing business, especially regarding payments. And like has been said on this platform, as creatives, we were not going into the marketplace as business people, so we were getting exploited, and we were battling alone. And so one of the main things that happened was we created a rate card. And because the community was beginning to come together in one space, we could begin to teach people about the structures that help business be easier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Remy, want to add anything to that?
Yes, hi, friends. I'd actually been itching to meet you, and I'm so happy it happened here in public.
Yes.
Full transparency.
It's an honor to be here with you, sir.
So, let me put it this way. One of the things that we tend to overlook when it comes to the term community is commune. That's also the same root word that we get the word communication from. And as such, it is by communicating that we add to ourselves. It is by communicating that we add to the experience of our lives from moment to moment. Just to, as a raw personal example right now, who Prince Dan Vessel was 10 minutes ago is not who Prince Dan Vessel is now, because of the things that you have learned. Yes. So I believe that itself is the heart of community. It's also meant to be a place of safety. Because the thing that tends to silence the best of us is this question going to be stupid?
Exactly.
And in the communities, I mean, I invite stupid questions because it's not you need everybody to agree that it's stupid. You can't just sit on your own and decide that it's stupid. And more often than not, that stupid question is the same question like 300 people had, but they were afraid to ask. So, community, we have the courage. Somebody has the courage to step forward and ask that stupid question. And the answers that they get solve so many problems. I'll give you just one very common stupid question. So, should I tell them how much they should pay me? Or, yeah, you're laughing.
Exactly.
Right? This is the real question that people were so scared to ask because they were worried they would look stupid.
Yeah.
I was like, you have a rate card? No. I said, okay. This is how you do it. And from there, people became more educated and the community got stronger because of that, more confident because of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my addition.
Yeah, thank you very much, Remy. Thank you. So, Bidemi, you've built a continent-wide platform. What has been your biggest win and perhaps your biggest challenge in building a VO platform or community?
Okay, so Bidemi is not around. I know you weren't expecting my voice next, but she wasn't able to wasn't able to make it. So I would wonder if you would like to redirect the question to someone else, or if you still want it from an ABVA perspective, it just might be able to share some insights. So it depends on.
Okay, Tico, you're on, so please you can answer that for me.
So could you take the question again?
So what has been your biggest win and challenge in building a VO platform or community?
Hmm. Those are two questions in one: wins and challenges.
And challenges, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to start with win. Wins are knowing that people are being genuinely impacted, and seeing true growth. Now, growth might not be the exact way we see it, because the trajectory of growth in voiceover can be unassuming. You might be, still growing for about 2 years, and you're not there yet the way you think being there yet should be. But in that space
Yeah.
of time, you've learned a lot about the business. You've learned a lot about, what makes people stay longer in this business, because you've been there learning silently, low key, and when you're ripe enough, you grow that much. So
Yeah.
I think seeing that people know what to do, know how to engage with clients, if you have community meetings, for instance, the kind of intelligent conversations that are being held about voiceover, those are the
Yeah.
metrics for wins for me, right? The average intelligence of a community, when they can sustain certain conversations about voiceover, I consider that
Yeah.
win. And also, getting booked for jobs, that also should be considered win.
Yeah.
For challenges, I think there's a lot of the challenges are usually back end challenges as far as I'm concerned, because it takes a lot to serve a community. Community is about service, first of all. So if you're in the leadership of a community, you have to do a lot of sacrificing. You would
Yeah.
sacrifice your time, most especially, because every now and then somebody has something, a question to ask, needs the resources, needs an answer. Sometimes they take it out of the community, they come straight into your DM, and you just have to serve them. So
Yeah.
that is a challenge, but it's also a good challenge, because it shows that your community is serving. If people don't feel like they can get answers from the community, they would opt out. They would rather not ask. They will go somewhere else. So that
Yeah.
also is a sign that you're doing something right. So I think it's a blessing, maybe a curse in a way, but you have to then figure out how to manage it. Raising people that are, strong and mature enough, or if you're lucky, you have other mature minds in the voiceover space that are in your community. They'll go a long way in helping to administer service and resources and answers to questions that persist in the voiceover community. And by the way, I just want to mention, the perspective of community that I'm sharing is more of a community based on people who are trying to grow the business. Voiceover communities can be in different natures. You could have, for instance, an association, which is still also a community. You can have an
Yeah.
alumni body, which is also a community. But I'm talking about an open community for voiceover artists, like we've built at Voiceverse, and also at APVA, that's the Association of African Podcasters and Voice Artists. So I'm just gonna
Yeah.
stop there. I hope I
Okay.
made some sense.
It's been very helpful. Yes, very helpful. Remy, you've mentored many voices. How has your journey been?
I'm going to do something very unorthodox. I'm going to borrow the questions that you asked because I think they give the best frame for it. All right, so you may blush, or you may blush. T-Code is one of my top 10 wins in my 23-year career.
Yeah.
One of my top 10 wins easily. I will even, you see, he's blushing. I will
I'm
even,
trying
it's
not
not
to
even
blush.
something.
Let me can I
Thank
chip
you.
can I also chip this in?
I'm honored.
Can I
Sure.
also chip this in?
Yes, please.
T-Code was the one who inspired me to start the VO playbook. He also inspired me to form the Ghana Voice Actors community. So I owe a lot to him. Yeah. He's such an inspiration to me. Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
So he's going to blush well today.
Please pardon me. Please pardon me. Thank you so much for giving, for acknowledging that. But I also want to transfer that to Remy, who started this. because Remy inspired me as well to start the voiceover podcast. Is one of my inspirations. Before I did the voiceover, everything voiceovers podcast, Remy had started a podcast called the African Voice Directors Diary or something like that. You know, and I listened to about 3 episodes of that. He also started the Voice Acting Africa community. You know, so Remy has been an inspiration for a lot of us. Just want to chip that in. So thank you very much, Remy.
Remy,
And,
thank you very
Frank.
much, sir. Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
it's true. The way I look at it is that the fire that I shared with Tolu wasn't wasted. Yes. So the thing is that when it comes to my experience in this work, there are usually things that would test you. And depending on where your mind is, depending on where your focus is. So I'm first and foremost an intellectual. I look for what works, what has proven to work, and see how I can add my signature on it. One of the challenges that I come across, not with me, but with voice overs and voice actors who are coming up, is the lack of confidence. So I've learned one of the things I've learned is that the glue of community is a story that is told about the community to the community. So I remind people of the stories that they have and use those stories to arm themselves.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about telling a story and going out there to try and slap somebody in uniform and say that you represent the new colonial structure. No, not that, not that. But the very best performances that we have come from the stories that we hold inside. The other challenge, which is personal, is making sure that you keep putting out things of quality. As in, you just have to. And I'm grateful to be the first African to be ranked #1 for animation voiceover by Sopas, and the first African to be ranked #1 for audiobooks by Sopas.
Wow.
So it's very easy to just sit back and say, well, you can just, how to do this work, how to. No, but you need, it's not just by leading by example. You have to be the example and trust that you are visible and articulate enough to be followed. But I promise you, everybody that I met in my community, outside of my community, between different communities, for the fact that you are interested in voiceover, for the fact that you're interested in voice acting, I'm on your side already. I'm already on your side.
Awesome.
I'm already on your side. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Jennifer, let me come to you. How does community affect sustainability for African voice artists? Not just for now, but long term. Hello, Jennifer, are you there?
Jennifer, please remind your challenges who you are so that they will step aside and so that we'll enjoy you. Well, I think she's probably having some technical issues, but is it okay if I take the question?
Yes,
But just
you
repeat the question for me, please.
So how does community affect sustainability for African voice artists now and in the long term?
Okay, excellent. So I think the first thing is understanding the place of development when it comes to the work that we do.
Yeah.
When I say development, I'm talking about infrastructure. And when I say infrastructure, I'm not talking about physical structures. I'm talking about ethics. I'm talking about an understanding or a philosophy towards what it is that we do.
Yeah.
This is the sort of thing that curbs underpricing. It helps establish what is a basic standard that is acceptable. For lack of a bigger, more complicated word, quality control. And that starts with a sense of professionalism with the voice actor, with the voiceover. Now, when you come across 3, 4, 7, 12, 20 instances of pushback on a move or a decision that's going to drop the quality, you come to understand, okay, this is the standard. I've been doing rescue work for bad work since, wow, yeah, about 18 years.
Wow.
I rescued bad work last month.
Wow.
Yeah. Because people would come and they think, okay, I have a nice sounding voice. And they go for it. No training, no direction. No, as in it was just I couldn't help but burst out laughing. I was like, wow, 18 years after, this is still happening. Sustainability only happens because we have chosen to sustain something. And we need to also understand, when we say sustainable, in mentally speaking, most of us are thinking subsistence. It's not subsistence. It's sustainability. It's not, okay, let's just see how we can make it past this month to next month. Let's just see how we can make it from this week to this. No. What is your 10-year vision? What standard are you willing to commit to, no matter what? Do you have the moral fiber, the moral courage to return money? If they are asking you to, lower your standard, because the thing is that what we do is an art, but it's also a business form. And to be frank, a lot of our clients don't realize that it's also a business form. And maybe it's just to carry paper and talk now. Me too, I can do it. Which popular line for my first 5, 7 years. At that time, I didn't have the courage to say, you should do it now. Why are you calling me? But I have the courage now. Back then, I just be like, I can't. That is where sustainability happens, because it's your responsibility. It will never be the responsibility of the client.
Yeah.
To never be their responsibility. It's yours.
Yeah.
It's yours.
Yeah.
I hope I answered the question.
You did. You did clearly, very clearly, sir. Oh, thank you very much. Is Jennifer, are you back?
I think he's still trying to join.
She's okay. Tico, what's your take on this, please?
Okay, can you take the question again?
So we're talking about sustainability.
Yeah.
Yes, and we want to know how sustainability affects, African voice artists now and in the long term. Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, Jennifer is joining again. Secondly, I'm trying to analyze the question. Either I guess you're looking at it from how communities affect sustainability for African voice talent in Africa.
Exactly.
And if that's the case, I think it's a very good way to put it, because I see communities as perhaps the lifeline of an industry. So I like to look at the voiceover craft from an industry perspective.
Yeah.
You could come into the industry and to you it's just a talent, a hobby. And then you realize that you can actually make something out of it. And then you start to make some, money here and there from voiceover. And then you realize that it can really be a business. And then you begin to invest in it as a business.
Yeah.
And a couple of us, that was our story until we decided to be full-time voiceover artists, like I am. But the point is, for the business to be sustained, there has to be an ecosystem that considers structure, pricing, the negotiation, for instance, equipment. There's an ecosystem that makes this work. And what community does for us is that it sustains the mindset, the growth mindset, the conversations that will inspire development in the industry.
Yeah.
For instance, if we don't have associations, if we don't have this pockets of communities here and there,
Yeah.
we would not be able to collaborate as well as we're doing. I mean, for instance, the last presentation we saw from Vala, it was because there was a community called Vala in existence that created the room for collaboration.
Yeah.
And that is going to inspire someone else, like we listen to Wakio. You know, okay, look at this. This is Africa Voiceover Day. This, in a way, is a pseudo community. Right. And these are the things that sustain the industry in the long run. Because if there are no coming together of talent, everybody lives in silos. Everybody has their ideas in their head. And, you know, they're kind of like dwarfed in their thoughts because you feel like, how will I change or bring the positive change in the industry that I want to see? But if we can come together, you have the skill, this person has that skill. It didn't take one person to do this Africa Voiceover Day. You are speaking, you're moderating. Remy is speaking, Jennifer is speaking. We've had other panelists, right? All of that is because we have communities sustaining the industry. So I believe that the more communities or the stronger communities we have, the more sustained our industry is going to be for the long run.
Thank you very much, Tico. Thank you. Thank you. Please, is Jennifer back? Jennifer?
Jennifer is
okay.
here.
Holding my breath. But enjoying, yeah, I managed to get back in. Having technical issues. I'm at the coast of Kenya. It's raining. And the internet, back. Yeah, and the dogs, yes. Competition. But glad to be back, catching the conversation.
Okay, okay. So this goes to you, Jennifer. What cross-regional collaborations are needed right now in Africa VO space? And what is stopping it from happening?
Wow. I think that question will be answered now with events like this. I mean, in terms of what are needed, I have often said that the Nigerians lead in vision with a lot of the quality that now flows back. We see it in the music, we see it in the productions, even in what was done for Africa Voiceover Day.
Yeah.
There's a level of excellence that they have in their creativity that we would borrow very much from. In fact, I would love to see that very humble Vala production given a touch of magic by the Nigerians. Not that we can't do it, but then it becomes a larger collaboration.
Yeah, yeah.
But then just also what was touched on earlier about the communities giving capacity to African production so that we're not always looking for Africa voiceover jobs out there, but we are now creating our own productions. That I think is the future. And when we start collaborating perhaps in the regions, so my challenge, as much as I'm looking to Nigeria, is closer to home. You know, how do I capture the Ugandans, the Somali, the Ethiopians to talk more about East Africa and enhance their voiceover capacity as it waters ours as Vala, so that it's really cross-border. And I'm getting a lot of nuggets just by being in this room, actually, in terms of how to do that. So yeah, that would be my 2 cents.
Nice one. Thank you very much, Remy. Remy, what's your take on this, please?
All right, so I'll use my I have 2 takes, one unofficial, one kind of official. The unofficial one is, Jennifer, what a clever way to just pass the ball just pass the bulb to me. Say, you, then you lead, you lead. No, nothing but love. Jennifer, I'm a member of Valor.
Yeah.
Jennifer inspired me to join Valor. Yeah. But the more official response is this. Very often, based on our capacities, we tend to assume roles that don't get things done. In 2008, I first got into animation. In 2010, I then got into voice directing. In 4 years later, I realized we didn't have voice actors. We had voiceovers, we didn't have voice actors. Then I started to push myself to find and teach and train voice actors. You see, if you follow that journey, it was all a case about recognizing a vacuum, understanding what needed to be filled, what that vacuum needs, and providing it. As in, like, if for anything at all, man is the only creature that commands his environment. The environment does not determine you, you determine your environment. And for every step that I took, I realized it was because I needed to provide service at a higher level than when I first came into the game. If someone's going to have a cross-regional production, they are going to need people who are familiar, who can provide a service higher than just somebody waiting for a job to come. They are looking for problem solvers. That is what they are looking for. They're looking for problem solvers. We are problem solvers. Believe it or not. We are problem solvers. And I believe that the higher you dedicate yourself to levels of problem solving, the easier these sort of things become. As a voice director, I've gotten to a point where when I'm in a production, I insist that I be part of the production decision-making process. And they're like, why? I say, because you might be thinking, oh, I have this bright idea, and you are creating a problem.
Yeah.
You might be thinking, this is not possible. Meanwhile, there are at least 20 people who can make this thing easy. You know, the client doesn't step in our shoes. They just need our help. They just need our service. You know, so I would say that when it comes to making things like cross-regional productions happen, I think it's important that we represent ourselves as problem solvers to the producers. You know, it's very easy to look at things that maybe Netflix or any of the foreign, which is fine. But I'll say this, we are all hungry to do more. When we come across people in our surgeons who are hungry to do more in their own fields as producers.
Yeah.
So when we meet, I think it is important that we then present ourselves as problem solvers, as opposed to people waiting for work to be ready so you can come and bring it to us. We need to think like producers.
Yeah.
If you already have a microphone in front of you and you are editing, believe me, you're a producer already. Don't all that, well, I don't have a big office, I don't have a PA, I don't have a driver. If you are recording your voice and you are editing it, just at that bit, you are a producer. You are no longer a member of the audience waiting for, when is the next episode of this series coming out? You are a producer, and you should think as such. Okay. I am going to actively, we are in May right now. I'm going to actively look for opportunities and create something, make something happen by November. I'm saying it here in front of everybody.
Yeah.
I'm saying it here in front of everybody because as much as I am hungry for success, I am actually hungry for success for the larger community. I think it will make a statement to people who assume such things are impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tico, do you want to say something?
Oh, no. It's just fascinating listening to you talk about these things.
So, I'll tell you if maybe 3 or 4 things that we have cross-regionally, but it's not in the forefront, it's not really recognized. So we are familiar with the L and R substitution in the general Ugandan English. We also have that in Nigeria, especially from a particular state called Anambra. And it may sound, well, okay, fine, it's just a happy coincidence. No, usually these things reflect a similarity in how we think, possibly even in similarity in the kind of stories that we were told, that are told in our villages, in our cultures. I mean, if anything at all, we all share, most of us English, Anglophone African countries, we all share Lord Lugard. Yes. Even I was surprised, like, wait, you mean that guy trekked from Kenya and still troubled us in Nigeria? Wow. Wow. But we have so many. See, my head is very full and excited because even this talk about cross-regional collaboration. These are things I've had visions and dreams about for about maybe 14, 15 years. But you don't want to say things that frighten people.
Yeah.
Like, I know that man is mad. I will be poor by the time he's finished doing what. Yeah, but the thing is that we share a common humanity.
Yeah.
And unlike the rest of the world, we are so very close to the soil. We are very close to the soil. And very much like the rest of humanity, the stories we tell are literally just reflections of the influences that we've had from great grandparents all the way down. So yeah, we have amazing stories. We have amazing stories. We have challenges with things like distribution, marketing, exposure. Um, the stories that I have come across on this continent, moving stories, powerful stories. I have I can use this platform to express this passion, this vision. In the 80s, between 1980 and I think 1986 or 87, I'm not sure which is correct. The Republic of Hungary, the country, a communist country, please note, communist, not Western. They produced a series of animated series called Hungarian Folktales. Go on YouTube. It is one of the highest. They've not adjusted the animation for technology. It is still one of the highest number of views for anything. Just look for it, Hungarian folktales. Most of us here are familiar with anime. I've taken off my glasses, so I'm serious. Most of us watch, Japanese animation. It doesn't occur to us that these people are speaking in their indigenous language. It just occurs to, oh yeah, they're speaking Japanese because it's different continents, different, but it is their indigenous language.
Yeah.
And I remember very early, in the early years of Voice Acting Africa, there's a time that we got a script and I said, okay, you know what? Everybody pick a role and then interpret what the person is saying in your native language. They're like, are you sure it's going to? I said, just do it. Tico knows me. I've already solved, before I tell you to do something, I've already done the calculations in my head. I'm like, okay, yeah, this one. So I just do it, just do it. Interestingly enough, we had an Asian from India. We had someone from India who was on that call, who was on that in that session. You know, everybody understood each other because the intent was present in the delivery. So yes, please, it's inevitable. I don't mind being the first on the queue.
Yeah.
I don't mind being the first on the queue. I'll be the first on the queue. I'll be the first on the queue. But yeah, as in like, it's inevitable. It will just. I'm aiming for timeless. I'm aiming for timeless. Not, oh my goodness, this is what they did. No, I'm aiming for timeless. 40, 50, 80 years from now. They'll say, oh yes, the idea started when Prince Dan Vessel was you know, there was a session on the voiceover Africa voiceover day. And he was speaking with Jennifer Canary, he was speaking with Tico, then he was speaking with Remy, and Remy said, okay, November that year. Like, and from then, you know, that is what we know now. I don't need to be present. I just need those stories to make children's lives better.
Yeah.
So I thank you for hearing my rant too. But that November is a promise. It's still a promise. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Remy. I've learned so much from you today. So let's wrap up with this. So what's one thing we all must start doing now to grow stronger VO communities in Africa? One thing. So this will go around and that's it. Tico.
Okay, so one thing we must do to build stronger voiceover communities in Africa, wow, I think it starts with the heart for it. I think one of the reasons why the communities aren't that, I wouldn't say they're not strong. We have strong communities. I just think that it takes a heart to sustain it, because it's service at the end of the day. It's sacrifice. I've seen Remy do this for many years, right? And it's not for any paycheck at the end of the month. It just cares. I've seen Jennifer do this for many years, right? So for a community to stay long, we need people who have the heart for this work, not just for the work, but for the people. It's one thing for you to really care about your business, but it's another thing for you to have a vision for the people and be excited to see people grow. So the individuals are really what determines how far the community runs. Yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. There could be many other answers, but this one just sticks to my mind, and I think that's it.
Thank you very much, Tico. Jennifer.
Yeah. So echoing what Tolu has said, definitely the communities, the administration needs to be tight. And that's one of the things that is challenging, like has been spoken about. But the advantage of the communities, like now with Vala, we've started a mentorship program so that we can work more closely with the talent, and actually from those talent, bring in people who create more hands to help the community move forward, and more vision. Like this production that we did has inspired so many people, because people who knew nothing about voiceover have produced something that's been shown on this platform. You know, and it speaks volumes about Africa and a connection to the continent. So yes, the intent has been birthed to reach out and start collaborating at a deeper level. That I think is going to come out of this Africa Voiceover Day. That's true. That's key. And then we must act on it. And so I'll be in touch with everybody to make sure that we don't drop the ball. But like I said, the intent has to start, and we desire it. And sitting on the think tank behind Africa Voiceover Day, that's one of the reasons that we have made sure this day has the kind of platform and amplification that it has. It's so that these collaborations can actually happen. So, yeah, the intent
Thank you
has
very
been
much.
right.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. So thank you all for your passion. I thank you all for your honesty today. And I thank you for the work you are doing to build voiceover communities in Africa that last. And thank you to the audience for sharing this moment with us. Let's keep connecting, let's keep collaborating, and let's keep creating. My name is Prince Vessel. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the program.
All right. Thank you very much, Prince. It's nice being in this panel session, which you moderated. Okay, guys, it's Africa Voiceover Day, the 5th of May, 2025. Okay, that was a rhyme. But I'm sure that you're enjoying yourself. Great conversations have been had. We've had our 3 panel sessions. The first one talking about amplifying local voices, the second one talking about building the future, and this last one talking about building voiceover communities across Africa. And interestingly enough, if you studied the panel, we had community builders on the panel. The moderator himself, Prince, who is the founder of Ghana Voice Actors Community, is very, very passionate about building an association and a community for Ghanaian voice actors. And that's the latest community, I believe, in Africa. It's just about a month old. And he has been championing a lot of things. So I would also say, if you're a Ghanaian voice actor and you're listening, you could also check that out on Instagram, Ghana Voice Actors Community. We also have VALA, which is open for all Africans across the continent. That's the Voice Actors League of Africa. I'm a member of VALA. Remy is a member of VALA. And we have different people from different countries also being member of VALA. So check out these communities and be a member of them. Remy is the founder of Voice Acting Africa, also an open community for every African voice actor. You can check that out on Instagram as well. And finally, we've got Voiceverse NG, which is a community and a platform that we are championing here, founded by myself, and we have numerous talents on the community, serving them resources and all of that. This is just, a look into the few things that we've been doing, but been very impactful for the voiceover community in general for Africa. And I want to implore you, if you're still in your little bubble, it's high time to belong or to be a part of a community so that you can feel the pulse of the industry and do what is right by the impacts that you get. Okay, so we're finally, gradually rather, coming to the end of this celebration today. It's been a great time, fabulous speakers. But before we go, there's just one more presentation that I'd like you all to hear. So a couple of weeks ago, we put out a challenge for voiceover artists from Africa, to do a presentation of a particular script in their native language. So if you're wondering what Africans really sound like in their native language, some voice talents in the continent responded to this, and they decided to create voiceovers in these languages that some of you would probably be hearing for the first time right here. So I'd like you to stick around and let's listen to that. And after that, we come to the conclusion, as we would have Jennifer address us as we end Africa Voiceover Day, but not before, or rather, you have to listen to this presentation first of all. So I'll be right back, guys. Let's enjoy this, and I'll be back. Seems we have a slight technical issue with this particular one, but we're going to try again to project it. Yeah. While that is happening, I want us to network. I want us to connect. So please make use of the comment section. You could drop your Instagram handles, your emails, your location, where you're from. If you belong to a community, Let's know where you are. Let's know what you do. Give us an idea of what's going on at your end so that we can know you and everyone can connect. I think that would be very, very great. All right. So while you do that, I'm, on the back end trying to fix this. All right. So I'll be sharing my screen once again so you can see this presentation by our amazing artists or talents in Africa. Enjoy.
Áfíríkà, alẹ́ ìyẹnẹ tó bírí ohun ajá gidi jẹ, tó ṣe pàtàkì rí gbanọ̀kan ṣe, oró, erin, ìta, egi, èso, bírí èso egi, ugba tí ó ní, ìkwakwa òwà ẹ̀bọ̀bọ̀, ìta ohun gidi jẹ tó náṣí gbàṣí. Olí tó ní oríire ọ̀fẹ́, bí ara tí ó ní oríire ọ̀fẹ́. Dẹ́nẹ̀ bára dẹ́nẹ̀ yọ̀, ọjọ́ olúwe ṣe ohun Áfíríkà.
Áfíríkà, ilẹ̀ adúláwọ̀, orílẹ̀ wa tó ń gbogbo ìdí rẹ̀ jẹ́ ìṣúra iyebíye àti ọ̀ṣọ́ eléyìí tó ṣọ̀wọ́n. Gbòǹgbò rẹ̀, kùkùté rẹ̀, ẹ̀ka rẹ̀, irúgbìn àti èso rẹ̀, wọ́n jẹ́ ọgbà ìṣúra ìyanu. Ìlérí tá a pamọ́ nípa àwọn ìtàn tá a ti pa, ibùgbé ẹ̀bùn àti àwọn tá a ta lọ́rẹ ẹ̀bùn. Àwọn kú àjọyọ̀ àyájọ́ ọjọ́ àwọn tí ń gbóhùn peléke nílẹ̀ adúláwọ̀.
Áfíríkà, ìyá ilé ayé, gbogbo èdè rẹ̀ ní wúrà àti iyebíye, gbòǹgbò, igi àti ẹ̀ka, nǹkan ọ̀gbìn àti èso, ọgbà ìyanu tí ó kún fún ìyàlẹ́nu, ìtàn àtijọ́ tí a fi àlàyé rú, ilẹ̀ ìbùkún àti àwọn tí a bùkún. Ẹ kú ọjọ́ ohun Áfíríkà.
Áfíríkà ala nne n'asụsụ ya niile bụ ọla na ọla, mgbọrọgwụ, azụ okoko osisi na alaka, mkpụrụ na mkpụrụ osisi, ogige nke akụ dị ịtụnanya, nkwa nke akụkọ edebere na ekekọrịta, ụlọ nke onyinye na onyinye, obi ụtọ Afrịka, ayọ Afrịka, ncheki Afrịka, Happy Africa Voiceover Day.
Áfíríkà, ilẹ̀ ìyá wa àti gbogbo èdè rẹ̀, ní wúrà àti dúdú ìrà, gbòǹgbò, opó àti ẹ̀ka, irúgbìn àti èso, ọgbà iyebíye àti ìyanu, ìlérí tí a pamọ́ nínú àwọn ìtàn tí a pè, ilé ẹ̀bùn àti àwọn tó ní ẹ̀bùn, ayọ̀ ọjọ́ Voiceover Africa.
Áfíríkà, ilẹ̀ ìyá wa àti èdè rẹ̀ kọ̀ọ̀kan, ní wúrà àti iyebíye, gbòǹgbò, ọ̀pẹ àti ẹ̀ka, irúgbìn àti èso, ọgbà àwòràwọ̀, àwọn iyebíye, àwọn ìlérí tí a pamọ́ lórí àwọn ìtàn tí a pín, ilé ẹ̀bùn àti àwọn tí a fẹ̀bùn ṣe. Ẹ kú ayẹyẹ ọjọ́ fáwọn alákòóso ohùn Áfíríkà.
Áfíríkà, ìyá ilẹ̀, àti gbogbo èdè rẹ̀ ní ewùrà àti wúrà, gbòǹgbò, òpó àti ẹ̀ka, irúgbìn àti èso, ọgbà iyebíye pẹ̀lú àyájọ́ àrà, ìlérí tí a pamọ́ nínú ìtàn tí a pín, ilẹ̀ ẹ̀bùn àti àwọn tó ní ẹ̀bùn. Happy African Voiceover Day.
Afirka, uwar kasa, da kowace harshe nata, lu'ulu'u ce kuma zinariya, tsayayyar itaciya ce mai kakkauran sayu da rassa iri da 'ya'yanta. Ita ɗin tamkar lambu ce mai cike da dukiyar al'ajabi. Ita ɗin ma'adani ne na tarihi da tsofaffin labaran da aka daɗe da yaɗawa. Ka kira ta gida mai baiwa da masu baiwa. Barkanku da ranar murnar muryar Afirka mai albarka. Happy African Voiceover Day.
All right, that was a performance or set of presentation from people who decided, voice talents across the continent, who decided to celebrate the Africa Voiceover Day by being a part of the challenge that we put together. And that's the Africa Voiceover Day challenge. I want to say a big thank you to all of you. That was amazing. And it was beautiful to hear these different languages. In case you're wondering what they were saying, in English, it was Africa, the motherland, and her language is the germ and the jewel, the root, stem and branches, the seed and the fruit, a garden of treasures of wonder, the kept promises of stories shared, the home of gifts and the gifted. Happy Africa Voiceover Day. Beautiful script given to us by Remy Olutumai. Maybe many don't know that Remy used to be, or is still, of course, a copywriter and then a professional one at that. Okay, well, we're coming to the end of Africa Voiceover Day. It's been a beautiful one, spending about 3 hours with you guys and listening to people from different parts of the continent. I must say I am full right now. I'm rich of ideas and I can't wait to go back and use these things that I've heard so far, in my business, in the communities, and making an impact in the industry. And speaking of communities, I also want to acknowledge some of the platforms and communities and institutions that made this possible. Many don't know, but Africa Voiceover Day didn't just start from thin air. If you were here from the beginning, you remember when Jennifer was talking about how the idea came and, certain people started talking and coming together to form what we today call Africa Voiceover Day. I've already mentioned a couple of the institutions earlier, so I wouldn't, really go deep into them. But the ones that I have not really mentioned, I'm going to be talking about them. So for Africa Voiceover Day to be a reality, we had many institutions come together, Vala, Voiceverse. But let's also mention the Voiceover Workshop and Media, which has been training African voiceover artists for years now, founded by King E, who also is the convener of the Voiceover Conference, one of the biggest voiceover conferences in Africa. And it has been for about 4 years now, and 5 and counting. So, it's a training institution in Nigeria, and it spreads across the rest of the world. And the Voiceover Workshop and Media is one of the solid partners making this event work. We want to say a big thank you. Also, if you're streaming this or if you're watching via our live stream on YouTube, you might notice that it is being hosted at the Voiceover Workshops YouTube page. That just shows how dedicated the platform has been, and the community and the company has been in supporting Africa Voiceover Day. I also want to talk about another similar establishment that has been uplifting African talents for it's getting close to a decade now, at least 8 years. I'm talking about the Voiceover Academy, founded by Seun Shobo. You were here in the beginning when Seun Shobo had a keynote speech, and he took us through the evolution of the voiceover space in Africa. So Seun Shobo with the community, they have been very, very influential in the growth of the African voiceover space with several initiatives here and there. And now Dive VIO, yes, that's the latest platform from there. So yeah, they're also supporting the Africa Voiceover Day. We also have the Association of African Podcasters and Voice Artists, APVA. The APVA is very much known for organizing the APVA Awards, which is the African Podcast and Voice Awards. It's been around since 2021, and we have, because I'm also a member of the APVA, we have been supporting voiceover artists, podcasters, and spoken word artists in the continent. So it's an open community as well. You can join this community. You can also be a part of the other ones I've mentioned earlier. It's all for the progress of voiceovers. I should also mention Evolution, which is founded by Nadim Khalid, who is the regional director for Gravy for the Brain. That's Nadim Khalid from Egypt. Thank you very much for the support that you've lent to Africa Voiceover Day. And Evolution is doing great. I see what they've been doing with Egypt's talents and much more. Yes, we also have Voice Acting Africa. Yes, I've mentioned Voice Acting Africa earlier, founded by Remi Olutimai. And we have the one from Emeka Onunko, that is the Voiceover Africa Conference. Yes, the Voiceover Africa Conference, also one of the biggest conferences for African voiceover artists. And this is an initiative of Emeka Onunko under the platform of Africa Media Works or Film Media. Emeka, please correct me. I think I'm mixing it up right now. But you and your community and your team, you've been very influential. Yeah.
It's African Voice and Media Works, AVM Works.
Yeah, Africa Voice and Media Works. And Africa Voice and Media Work has been serving the community for a very long time. Since 2012, when you started with the Nigeria Voice
Bank.
Voice Bank, right?
Yeah.
So thank you so much for your support for Africa Voiceover Day. We have Leslie Kasumba, who is a Ugandan, South African talent, a very talented personality. She's the founder of She Speaks Africa, and that just goes to show how passionate she is about the voice or the audio industry in Africa. And she's been lending her support to the Africa Voiceover Day event since its inception in 2024. I don't think I'm missing anybody, but if I am, please let me know. But that's it for the platforms that came together, team up together to see Africa Voiceover Day a success. And also to the people who have been behind the scene as well. Of course, we have the amazing granddaddy. He used to be the elder, now he's granddaddy, Chilulemba. Chilulemba, thank you for being very, very instrumental to the development of the voiceover industry in Africa. He's a veteran in the industry. And if I start reading his profile, we'll be here till another 30 minutes. But yes, I'm going to now pass the mic to Jennifer Canary as she gives us the final words for Africa Voiceover Day. And but I want you all to know that it's been a great time, especially from my end here, being the host of this event. And I can't wait for us to have the one for 2026, because I'm very sure that would have made remarkable progress. The things that we've said here, a lot of us would have put it into use, and we'll see a bigger and better Africa voiceover community. All right, so this is me from me to you rather, signing out. My name is Tolulope Kolade, aka T Code, and thank you for being a part of this. Now over to you, Jennifer Canary, as we call this a wrap.
Thank you, Tolu. So my computer just crashed, which is amazing tonight. But I made it back here because I really wanted to give an inspirational sound out. So bless, thank goodness for the phone. Backup for your backup, people. So yes, this has been an incredible evening. Everybody has learned. Everyone has brought together what was the theme of this year's Africa Voiceover Day, which is the spirit of Africa. We've seen that in action today. Celebrating heritage, building the future. And so as we go away and think about everything that has been said today, one of the key things that has been said is join the voiceover communities, because as you can see, we're connecting. The threads are joining. So as you stay within your voiceover community and cross over to the other ones across the continent, the things that have been shared today, by your questions and by our interactions, they will live. They will continue to live and be nurtured. And those ideas that have been shared can become productions and can start, birthing, and we can start seeing these things come together. So I just wanted to recognize that today we have seen the celebration of heritage from all the veterans who have spoken. Thank you to everyone, because the veterans lead by example and with passion. And then we see the new entrants into voiceover. So many people who joined in from Kenya are very new voiceover actors, but they're here and they're learning. And the structures that are being formed are for you, by us, again, collaboration. And so this is what synergy is. This is what unity is. And with unity, there's power and there is progress. So the only way is up for the African voice. And African voice, the Africa Voiceover Day continues to be the day we celebrate, but it doesn't stop here. We celebrate each other in our communities, and we celebrate each other in all our productions as we move from this day into our levels of voiceover growth, voiceover expression, all the things that have been said today. And so I want to say on behalf of the organizers of Africa Voiceover Day, thank you very, very much for joining us, spending those 3 hours with us. Let's continue the conversations and enjoy your voiceover careers even more, because this is the backup for everybody. So happy Voiceover Day, everybody, and let's continue in power. All right. Good night.
Bye,
Good night,
everyone.
wherever you are. Bye-bye.
Good night, Jennifer. Good night, everybody.
Good night, Kachifo. Kobwa.
Good night, everyone.
Night. Thank you.
Thank you too. Bye.
Now, guys, thank you.